mean something?
I don't know. It has a big train on the front. Going into a tunnel. No, it isn't going into Welcome to CommanderSmiths.
We are the CommanderSmiths.
I'm Adam Smith.
And I'm Lowery Smith.
Don't worry.
We're cousins.
How's it going, Lowery?
Good. How are you?
I know we don't normally start with a "Hey, how's it going?" I don't know. I just went that route. Hey, buddy, how you feeling there, buddy? How you doing, guy? Hey,
should we do a Terrence and Phillips?
Hey, buddy.
I can't even do it.
That's all I can do is the "Hey, buddy" and "guy."
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Or
what are you doing looking at the TV? That was bad too.
Yeah, that wasn't really good.
Holy shit! It's been a
Should we
decade
do the Queef sisters and just start farting into the mic and say they're queefs?
That'd be impressive if you could do that. I can not fart on command.
Yeah,
so.
No, it has to be rumbling for me to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
I just saw you take a drink. What are you drinking? I'm excited to share mine, so I want to
That's
get
right.
this right
We're
out
on
of the way.
video.
Yeah.
I always forget that shit. I am drinking Inbound BrewCo again. So this one contains bees. It's a peanut butter honey blonde.
It contains actually bees. They just
I think so. Or they're being funny because they have honey in there. I don't know. I can't tell the difference.
It contains bees.
But I had the peanut butter porter
Ooh.
2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, is that on the cast? Or not on the
on the cast? Yeah, on the cast. And I really liked it. And this one is not very peanut buttery. It's a nice, crisp honey blonde. Nothing special, but not bad like other peanut butter drinks.
Nice.
So I'd still drink this, but it's not really peanut buttery.
Gotcha. I'm drinking something that fits our show perfectly. It's called Cinder Dick.
Oh boy.
It's from Roundhouse Brewery, which is in Brainerd, Minnesota. It's an IPA. Cinder Dick. I was like, oh man, I have to get that beer.
Does that mean something?
I don't know. It has a big train on the front.
Is
going into a tunnel? No, it isn't going to.
We should probably look that up.
I think the train though is their brewery because it's Roundhouse Brewery and has a train on it. You can see.
Yeah.
And then it says Cinder Dick.
And then Cinder Dick.
Cinder Dick was a rail yard policeman. Their job was to protect the freight of the railroad. A hard, bitter job that deserves a bitter beer. Cinder Dick IPAs, pale and dark crystal malts, along with its Columbus. Oh, Northern brewer. Cascade, Mosaic, hops given it reading is hard. Give it a perfect IPA.
How many Cinder Dicks have you put in your mouth?
A whole can. My mouth can fit around it. It's pretty good.
That makes sense now. Yeah, I mean, now that you say it, like a Dick used to be like a detective, right? Or a policeman of some
Dick Tracy.
type.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Tracy is the only reference I truly have.
Yeah, that's what you were going off of?
Yeah.
It's fact.
But I'm pretty sure it's...
Because that's history, right? Dick Tracy,
Yeah, that's a comic.
We totally freaking... You watch those movies and show...
but it wasn't real.
I know.
So,
well, no.
Okay.
I was just saying, like, that
you
was
called
something...
it real or history.
I was kidding.
Okay. Okay, we were just talking about fake shit before this. I just didn't know. I don't want to spread.
Yes, that was totally real. So. All the flat top and all the bad guys. Yeah, those are real.
Babyface.
And
God, that was a good movie.
Yeah,
Warren Beatty, right?
I
think Al Pacino was in that.
God, now Madonna. I really want to look it up. Yeah,
I definitely watched that movie a few times. My dad owned it, or I guess
I thought I saw it with you because I thought that was one of your jams. Like I felt like I saw it.
Yeah, very possible. Over at my dad's house?
Probably.
Yeah, we only had like 4 movies on rotation.
Dick Tracy, 1990.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
My dad let us watch... For being kids, my dad let us watch some pretty adult stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Not like porno or anything, but...
Well, yeah, that too. No, I'm just kidding.
But not that too. He didn't let us. We just found it.
Yeah.
So,
on his desk in the middle of the living room.
No.
Dad, you're very bad at hiding things. So what are we actually doing magic wise this week? Oh, I got one more side story really quick.
Oh,
you might have saw this on the Discord, but so we had an interesting conversation with Drake this week, our 5-year-old. Did you see that on Discord?
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
It's where he freaking, what did he say? We were in the car driving and he just like asked about boobs. He's like, Mommy, what? You have boobs? And she's like, yeah, girls have boobs. He's like, yeah, you have big boobs. We're both just like trying not to laugh. He's like, do all girls have big boobs? And he's like, no, not all girls have big boobs, but that's their private area. Like that's theirs. So you can talk to us about it, but you can't like talk to girls about that, your friends or anything. He's like, I like boobs. It's like, what the? You're 5. And we're both just like trying to like, he's looking at us. So we're just like trying not to laugh, doing that whole like rubbing your face, but then laughing into your hand. It was just, it was pretty crazy. Freaking.
Oh no, you're in a lot of trouble. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's
a lot of trouble.
But yeah, anything interesting happened in Lowery's world? Lowery Squared.
I got the playground. I'm building my son a playground, so I just got it.
I didn't know that.
Semi functional. Well, how about you go check out Dad's life in our section of Discord?
I did.
Me and Guy are trading.
I saw
off
Guy's thing. I didn't see yours.
Mine was right above it. But yeah, so it got the ladder going. It's kind of a cool thing, and then the slide is attached. Got the sandbox kind of ready down below. Still got to add sand and a couple of things.
Nice.
And then gonna add a climbing wall on, but that'll be later. So
sweet.
So coming around, he's not going to kill himself on it yet, as far as I can think.
Has he been? Is he already playing on it and everything? Then
just started today, and he really enjoyed it. He was on it for like 45 minutes.
Nice.
And then he started grabbing the hose and spraying me. He's a bully. So
you guys haven't like gone to the park or anything yet, right?
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah. So that's why Dad Lowery is building a playground here.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice. Well, what do we got this week? We are talking finally. We're going to start it first just to make sure we fucking talk about it. But we're going to talk about our Fave 5 equipment.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know you. I was going to leave it for the end again.
Oh, are you going to see if we're going to cut it?
Fave 5 equipment.
I'm making sure we get this out of there because we got to get some of our shit. I have this that Fave 5 list. I just had to redo it because I had like 3 different episodes written on it. And I'm like, God damn it. These are old. We need to get Fave 5 out of there. So Fave 5, we'll start with that. And then we will jump into Spotlight deck.
I have made the Gadrak, the Crown Scourge deck. And
I'm going to say it's interesting. It is very different than what I thought. Like, you have your idea of how you would build the deck. And I'm like, okay, this is what this deck's going to be. And then I pulled it up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This is not what I would do at all. Not saying bad, but it was just wasn't what I was expecting. I was like, okay, where's the mass board wipes and where's, the sacking your own creatures and all that. I'm like, whoa, he went a completely different angle at this. So I'm interested to see the thought process of all this. And I think that's about it for this week, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be it.
Let's see. Was there anything else we're going to talk about? So this is episode 124. Let's get all our stuff out of the way. You guys can jump on Patreon. That is where you guys can donate. You can get $1, get you on the Discord. Starting, let's see, when does this cast come out? It'll come out on Monday. So some people, when you first download, the people that download it the day of, will be a little bit early, but by the 1st of July will be Pick Your Proxy month. So if you become a patron that month, or if you're already a patron that month, you can pick any proxy from the proxy of the week. So that'll be, we have that twice a year, July and in February. So that is going to be starting soon. And then you guys can, delicious. That doesn't taste.
I was just trying. What have you, the Common Man thing where he's like doing the Joker bit where it's like delicious.
Yeah, but you just said it.
I just kind of threw it in there.
It doesn't make any sense at all. You didn't even do it in the voice where it's like
no
delicious.
I was just like delicious.
What the fuck? The free way to support the show is jump on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That's all you have to do. You can even listen to the show there. Eventually it will be video. Then check out Twitter. That's where you can see Proxy of the Week, sharing with myself, and any other news that we have that is Commander related. And then emails at Gmail, CommanderSmiths. That's where you can send messages and all that fun stuff. All right. Should we actually jump into this Fae 5 equipment stuff? We're going to just get right to the episode here. So I'm going to try to
do this.
Get, I like the rock one.
Is this also part of our original song, just cut up differently? But no,
it's like sped up and then added a guitar somehow. All right. So, Lowery, why don't you start us off with your number 5? We actually have these in order. So if you guys don't know, why don't you explain, Lowery? What do we do with the Fae 5?
So Fae 5 equipment here specifically, what we're doing is just going with cards that we play with a lot, that we really like, and we just kind of they're not necessarily the most powerful or the best. It's just more of like where we're leaning whenever we made the list 6 months ago. And things can change. And that's the great thing about this as well. And I'll tell you where I have changed on my list.
I have a couple honorable mentions in here that we can kind of go over too afterwards, but why don't you start us off with your 5th favorite card? My
5th favorite equipment is the boring one, and that would just be Swiftfoot boots. For me, like, I just really like, it's cheap. Giving the haste and the protection is really big. And the reason why I don't have Greaves on my list is because of the Shroud. And I like to be able, like, just being able to target my stuff. And there's so many points where it's like Shroud is getting in the way, like Chandra's Ignition, or any good aura that you want to put on your commander, or, and I understand that you can move it, but you're opening up the potential for spot removal.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, I just like being able to say, like, one, equip, that is my main guy or gal, and I want to protect it, and then I can add on if I want to later on.
Yeah.
And so there's very seldomly where I want to, like, freely equip it to, like, all of my creatures with Greaves. So just that one for the extra for hexproof is well worth it, in my opinion. And Swiftfoot boots goes in every deck, to whereas Greaves is a decision. It goes in a lot of my decks, but it's still going, I don't think this works here.
So that is the same thing as mine, except I'm the other way with it. So my number 5 is Lightning Greaves. So it's kind of funny we did similar with that. Okay. But Lightning Greaves,
that's the most boring.
Yeah, they are the most boring. But it is one that goes in almost every deck. My, I guess, counter argument with how I use Greaves is I tend to bounce it around. It's like, okay, creature comes in, I'm giving it haste, want to attack with it that turn, but then the main threat that I want, or my main creature or whatever that I want to protect, I'll end step move it over to that, not end step, but second main phase, move it over to that creature. So I tend to bounce it around. It's not normally, there is a main creature you don't want to die, so you do risk being like, moving it, but that's just kind of the risk you take. But I utilize that 0 equipability a lot more.
And I think that's probably the difference between us, like, in what are you using it for? And you're using Greaves for your haste.
Right.
And I'm using boots for the protection.
Right. And the
haste is nice and the protection is nice for you. They're that trade-off, but whatever you're valuing more.
I think that's also an interesting thing too, is that I think with those play styles is you tend to target your own creatures a lot more often than I do. Normally I'll target it like with one thing. It's not normally multiple things. It does happen on occasion where I'm like, okay, shit, I only have the one creature out. I can't move Greaves off. I can't target my creature. Yeah, that's the handcuff that you do run into. But a lot of times I don't run into that problem. So it's just more of bouncing it around and then picking the creature that I feel like is the most valuable that I leave it on. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing because you do tend to target yours a little bit more.
So yeah, and I mean like that just is something where you're depending on your play style, and that's something that you need to know about yourself and whatever deck you're playing. Like today with Gadrak, I have both in there.
Right.
And both are important, and so that's why it's kind of in there.
Yeah.
So it works.
And that's it's the same thing with how you ended the Lightning Greaves with the Swift Boots. This always goes in my deck, and then Lightning or Swift Boots is sometimes in my deck, you know. That's the second thought. It's like, okay, do I need another protection?
Like that.
Yeah. But a lot of times I don't. When I do another protection thing, it's like getting something that gives it unblockable, you know, like the Whisper Silk armor. Is it armor? Cloak. Yeah. So that I can give it something else instead of haste. Because I'm like, all right, I already have my Lightning Greaves. Now I need something else that gives me unblockability, you know. So All right, so we got the boring ones out of the way. Let's get to the fun cards. What is your number 4 card?
So my number 4 equipment is going to be Sword of the Animist.
God damn it.
Do you have that?
Exactly where that mine is number 4 as well. God damn it.
We hang out too much. Okay.
The stupid thing is I asked you before the cast, like I was like, do you have Lightning Greaves on yours? Because I was asking that because I was like, I felt like that was going to be the one that we would overlap. Shit. Okay. Yes. All right. Number 4, Adam and Lowery.
Do you want to read? You want to read the card?
Sure. It's 2. Equipped creature gets 1/1. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Equip is 2 to get it on a creature. So
okay. Yeah,
this is a great card. I love this card. It always is. It's almost like could be. What's that segment we did where it's cards that you end up cutting? I forgot what we called that. We had a name for it.
The maybe team.
Yeah, the maybe. That's right. So this one always like starts off, especially on a commander or a deck that's I'm attacking with one creature or multiple creatures, just an attack heavy deck. But then I end up cutting it probably half the time. You know, this is probably only in about 25% of my decks, where it starts out in 100% of them, or maybe 75, because some decks I'm not looking to attack. But you know what I'm saying? Like the attacking decks, it's in every single one. And then by the end, it's only in probably, you know, a third, maybe a quarter or something like that. So I love the card. I just end up, this is one of the cards I'm like, well, it doesn't fit in my theme. I got to cut it, you know, but it's so good because you don't have to deal damage. You just attack with it and you're getting,
just have to attack with it.
Yeah.
So it's great in like Aurelia, the Ward Leader, where you're getting 2 attacks and you're red-white, where you want to be ramping like that anyway. I would probably put this in just about every non-green deck.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is just the amount. I think I own like 4 or 5, and they are all in decks, and that's why I just asked for proxies of them.
Oh yeah.
So gonna probably fill them out a little bit more or just replace them. But yeah, it's in Oketra, it's in Yawgmoth. I'd put it in Gadrak if I had the extras. The card just is great. Going and getting a basic land is fantastic. The card is, you just, you know, you can put it on your little utility creature and attack in because you don't care. Right?
Just to get
get that extra land.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely worth it. Like,
yeah, who cares? Creature dies, equipment stays there, put it back on something else, attack with it, next thing. Yeah.
Even like Eldrazi Spawn, like 0/1, like, well, it's a 1/2 attack. And either somebody's like, well, I don't care, or I'm just going to throw something in front of it
to
kill it. And you're like, oh, well, either way.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Totally agree.
I really
every deck that you are not playing green, not getting land and stuff, this is a for sure ad for that. Okay, so
you want to go 3 and maybe ruin mine?
I was gonna say my number 4. No, I was kidding. Yeah, number 3 for me is Skull Clamp.
Okay, I was gonna say
But
yeah, actually, that I'm surprised that did not make my list. I love that card as well.
Yeah, so I just like it because there's one. I don't try to do the infinite things or the combo stuff. It's more of I put it on a creature that I might be sacking, or I'm trying to get it to die, or sometimes it's even a creature that I'm putting it on the commander and it is a target. I'm like, if it dies, I'm getting to draw. So it's kind of like a little protection in a way, So sometimes I'll utilize that part of it where I'm like, okay, you can kill my commander, but I'm going to get to draw 2 cards off of that. So there's a couple.
That only works now though. Before that didn't work. So I don't know if you were doing that right.
Oh yeah, because you'd have to have it go to the graveyard.
Yeah, but it does work now.
Yeah.
So retroactively,
yes, I totally
you did not
was
cheat.
playing that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of times it's on sack stuff, but I was.
Yeah, that's how I see you doing it normally, like in your Saproling deck.
But I actually have this in the Perforos deck because you're putting it on. You're making your creature come into play, and then
turn.
Yeah, so
drawing 2 cards. Yeah,
so
for sure.
There's a lot of tricky stuff that you can do with this.
And for sure, yeah, and just having if you have a token deck, 1/1s where you just pay 1, kill one of your creatures, draw 2 cards. Didn't get what I want. Pay 1 more. That's crazy. Would you, if you had an artifact that just said, pay 1, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, would you do that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, isn't there something where they, I don't remember who it was, but somebody in the higher ups of Wizards, it might even be Morrow with everything, that this was a mess up, that they really should have done -1/+1 so that you couldn't take advantage of keep sacking,
Well, I think how it originally was going to be was +1/+1. And then last second, they're like, this card's too powerful because you're pumping this guy and it's harder to kill, yada, yada, not realizing. Then they did the switch right at the last second and then made it so that it was an auto sack itself. And they tend to really screw up when they do that last second change because they did that with Jace the Mind Sculptor as well, and a couple of other cards.
What did they change with Jace?
They added the Brainstorm ability.
Oh God!
I believe, if I'm remembering right, it was either that or the unsummon part. So I mean, yeah. And they were just like, Jace needs a little bit more power. How about we just do something for 0 or -1 or whatever? It's like, God.
Sweet. All right. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be Basilisk Caller.
This is one you use all the time.
I love the card. It's 1 colorless, 2 to equip. Target creature, or that creature gets lifelink and death touch.
Yeah.
Very simple, clean. And it just has so many good memories with it. I do like to ping a little bit. So, it was in my Niv Mizzet deck. It's in my Kelsian deck. And I really it always feels amazing when you equip it to an Inferno Titan attack, kill 3 creatures, gain 3 life, and then you're gaining 6 life off that. It's fantastic. Goes great on first strike creatures. Goes, just the lifelink is amazing if you got a big creature rolling, right? The card is just very versatile. Or even, putting it on those smaller utility creatures that you're leaving back to chump, turn into a kill creature. If they're going to attack you, you're like, well, I got this 1/1 death touch lifelink. Are you going to use removal on this or just not attack me?
The other thing we ran into a couple years ago, wasn't it, where I got baffled with, is that you put it on a trample dude, right? And then that's when I was like, You're like, I'm attacking and I'm going to do 1 damage and then the rest is all going through. I'm like, what? No, that fucking doesn't work. You're like, totally does. I'm like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch. This card's ridiculous.
I think it was pretty stupid too. Cause I think I killed you off of that and you blocked with the Ulamog.
Yeah.
Am I thinking right?
Something like that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I didn't have like a huge, clearly not going to overpower Ulamog. And I was just like, 1 point of trample damage, death touch, and kill you.
Yeah.
With 2 or 3 more. And you're like, what?
Yeah. We even like did the ask a judge thing and all that. Cause I was like, there's no fucking way. And there might've been some adult beverages involved there. So there was tables being thrown. I'm just kidding.
So that was a fun time. Yeah, and just like it's really fun.
Yeah. You play that card quite a bit. I started using that a little bit more too, because it is nice having that incidental life gain. Like it's nothing, but really it does something. But that death touch holds people back from attacking you. And then you can just be, all right, well, I'm going to attack with this, nothing's going on. I'm going to start gaining life off of this, late game. That kind of helps out too.
Well, and that's the other thing is like it's just so cheap, right? It's one mana to go like put into play. So like it's a trinket mage target if you want, or or you can.
Well, and the equipment is the equipping cost is nothing too. That's easy.
And so you can equip it to your big guy, attack, gain a bunch of life, and then re-equip it down to your smaller guy that you plan on trumping with anyway. Yeah. And it just saves you a lot of time, life. It's a big swing.
Yeah.
So it's I highly suggest playing it more if you don't play it at all.
For sure. All right. I have a feeling your number 2 is going to be my number 1, but we'll see here. So my number 2 is Sword of Feast and Famine.
You son of a bitch. That's my number 1.
Oh, your number 2 is probably gonna be my number 1. I should be doing this.
Hey, number 2.
Yeah,
hey, number 2
is Sword of Feast and Famine. Do you want to do this at the same time for your number 1, or are you doing number 2 next? So. It's 3, and then it's equipped creature gets 2/2 protection from black and green. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. That's the map part. I mean, that's good still, but the part that I really like using in this is the untap all your lands you control, and its equip cost is 2. So this is just a good card. You're generally going to find somebody that's playing black and green, or maybe they're just open, and it's just a way to be able to almost kind of like take 2 turns, because you're able to untap all your land again, and then your second main phase play all your stuff.
That's what I was going to say too. It's like taking an extra turn because it's during your turn. Like those other cards like Seedborn Muse or Wilderness Reclamation. That's all at the end of your turn or somebody else's turn. So you have to have like instant speed interaction. This is just like I got 1 main phase with all my mana. And I have a second main phase with all of my mana after already using it all in the first one. Yeah. And so it just,
plus it's giving them protection. Like, I mean, you're not getting really anything from green going at you except for, what is it?
Beast Within is
really the only target that's going to get that. But black has some stuff in there. So it gives you a little pro black and green. That part is really mainly to get your creature through when you're going against a green player or a black player.
And again, if you one time that I've had it where I attack in with this, and what you can do is you can tap all of your mana to the untap trigger of it, and then untap, and then tap them all again. And then you get to add all that mana into your pool. So at instant speed, you can be doing what I did, Jin Gataxias, Core Augur.
Which one is that?
That's the blue Praetor.
Blue guy, yeah.
And so, on turn 6, I have a blue Praetor. It was probably earlier, but blue Praetor, and everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, draw 7, everybody's discarding their hand. And
I'm glad I wasn't involved in that game.
Yeah, that was an up north game, but I don't know who was playing at that point. So, but that was you can do some dirty stuff with that. And even if you're like a control player, you can play your main phase stuff and then get in, untap your lands, and then you just have all the counterspell magic that you want up.
Stop saying that.
Or removal, or
there
just
you go. That's better.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and
like,
the nice thing with these equipments is they can go in any deck. I mean, yeah, it has pro black and green, but that doesn't mean you can't. It fits in any deck. And really, you're probably not going to play in a deck you're not really attacking with something, though. I mean, that's probably your only limit. Other than that, like this goes in everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you are playing Wilderness Reclamation in your deck, which I would bet is a lot more newer card, a lot cheaper, like 2-ish, 1-ish bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just hands down 100 times better card.
I think
this is something that you want to gain up to because it's expensive now. It's like 40.
That's where I was about to get to. It's actually at 60 right now.
Is that 60? Yeah.
That's the only thing holding this back is its price tag. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to do drum roll because this might be my number one. So this is Lowery's number 2.
My number 2.
You're not even going to say it. You're just drinking a beer, you son of a bitch. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be Shadow Spear.
Oh, okay, good. You didn't get my number 1. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Your number 1 is Oot or Jit?
No, we'll see. You'll see.
No? Okay. Okay. So Jit was on my list.
You're trying to ruin mine. What if mine was Jit? You're like, oh, what's your number 1? Ooh, Jit. Oh,
that's a good point. I apologize. So Jit was on my list, and then I have just found for the last 3 months, every deck I've built, Shadow Spear goes in it.
So Shadow Spear and Jit are my honorable mention stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Shadow Spear is just so good.
Shadow Sphere would be in every deck. I just have, like I said a couple casts ago, I just haven't built decks recently. And so it's like, that doesn't go in a deck yet because I haven't built one. And I don't go back to my decks and be like, all right, putting this in very often, unless it's like a card that perfectly fits in there, So, but this card, this is a repeat take, but I am putting it in pretty much every deck from this point forward.
Yeah, just taking away that indestructible is really big. And again,
it's cheap. It's cheap to come out, not price.
One to play, 2 to equip, +1/+1, trample, lifelink, pay 1, take away, is it hexproof and indestructible?
Yeah.
I mean, that just does so much. And it's a rare. This should have been a mythic.
Yeah.
Number 1. But number 2, just like I was running into like my Calmax deck. He was huge and I just can't get through. And I'm like, well, Shadow Spear is amazing in there. Kelsien gets really big. It's really good in there. And Gadrak, it's in there today. And that's because I'm trying to, I do have mass removal in there. I want to make sure I'm getting rid of indestructible creatures. I don't have a lot of ways to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a colorless way to deal with hexproof, indestructible, giving you lifelink. Like, it just does so much.
Well,
I think it's just crazy.
One thing with it is, I mean, this, I bet you a little bit down the road, you look at a year or 2 down the road, this could be number 1 for both of us, because
could be. Yeah.
The thing is just take away the 1+1, the equipment part of it. You can just cast it and it just sits there. Permanents your opponent's control. Lose hexproof and indestructible until end turn by tapping 1. It never has to be on a creature. It's just that is good in itself. The bonus of giving the equip 2 to give it 1+1 trample and lifelink. There's your lifelink again that kind of creeps in there. But that's kind of almost secondary. This can go in a deck where you don't even have creatures and just you're wanting to target their stuff. Like that's
use it like an artifact.
Yeah. Well, there's that green one. When we first started early speccing, that was that green enchantment that removes indestructibility because there wasn't that many of those out there. So that was before picking up foils and stuff, but I picked up a crap ton of those non-foils for like 30 cents a piece. That paid off. But what one is that? I can't even think of the name of that one.
Something Bonds?
Yeah. Is it Elemental? No.
No. It's from
Immortal Bonds?
Yeah.
No.
It's from Oath of the Gatewatch. It's green colors, comes into play, draw a card, and then you can pay 1, and opponents' creatures lose indestructibility and hexproof.
Yeah, I believe
Or
that's
just-
what it is. Now I'm gonna look it up, but yeah, it's just that I was picking up because I thought, we both thought it was pretty unique to have that ability
At that point, it was.
and now you have a thing that can go in every single deck because it's an artifact, and then the other stuff is just all bonus.
I think this just goes in every big creature deck. In Gadrak here, I have, some dragons, probably not as much as I had this morning, but kind of cut like 2-3 of them. But it just does so much for so little. I don't know how else to
couldn't you
put it.
Do you think you could make an argument that it could go in like any deck, really? I mean, really, I guess not any. Yeah. If you're not trying to deal with their stuff, like I'm thinking actually my mill deck that I'm working on with the new Jumpstart Commander dude.
Yeah,
I'm not targeting anybody else's shit, so this probably won't make it in that.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, other than that, if you're just if you're having any interaction with the other person's board, this has to go in there, even if you don't have big creatures. But I think for sure, like you're saying, big creatures, it's a must-have. There it is. It's Bonds of Mortality.
Bonds of Mortality.
Didn't I say Mortality in the first one?
You might have.
Yeah.
I said Bonds.
Yeah, you started it off, and then I was like, isn't it Mortality? Maybe when I re-listen to this, I'll know. But yeah, they lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah. So this is, I really like Shadow Spear.
Yeah.
What is your number one since I didn't steal it?
It's a card we always forget the fucking name to, but Helm of the Host.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This tends to get in every single deck that the commander really is playing a big role in it. If I can have multiples of those commanders, this for sure makes it in that deck. Or, it just can fit in so many decks, because most of the time when you're building a deck around your commander, it's because your commander does something that you're trying to do throughout the deck. So
yeah.
I tend to put this in there a lot. It does seem like the equip cost is a lot, but it's totally freaking worth it, because it's not, you get this out. Yeah, you're probably not doing it that turn, but your next turn you equip it. It's before your attack phase, or what is it? At the beginning of your combat on your turn. So you're going to get that copy right away, which is really nice. It's not waiting until your upkeep, because that would be kind of if that said that, this card would be $1, if that. But because I think it allows
your attack step and gives it haste and makes it non-legendary.
Exactly. So it's 4 to come out, 5 to equip, but man, it just gets brutal if somebody doesn't wipe out your commander. But then it's still sitting on the board. It's really Helm of the Host has to get affected by it. So I've seen this wreck multiple times, personally and against me as well. I've played against it when people have had. When I see other people get Helm of the Host out, I am trying to figure out a way to get rid of that before they can equip it. Yeah,
and for me, like I always go like, it's always a consideration, and then I'm like, it's too expensive. I cut it. But I like the idea is fantastic, and that's why I've really started for blue decks leaning on Spark Double. And that card has it did go in Calmax, and I'm like, this card's crazy. So like it does make me go, I should probably be looking at Helm of the Host as well a bit more than I should. But yeah, it does seem really, really cool. And I have seen it work for you. It just feels like it won't work for me. So,
well, to give you an idea, when Dominaria came out, I picked up a bunch of these at foil and non-foils. They were at $2. Now they're creeping up to $10 right now. It's used.
What are the foils at right now?
Foils are at 15 and 20.
That's not bad.
Oh, I meant to say with Shadow Spear really quick. That's not that long ago of a set, and the fucker's already at 7,000 EDH rec decks, by the way. So that's
I believe it.
Huge for something that came out months ago. Helm of the Host, I don't think it would be in that many. I'm going to pull that up quick. because we know what your number one is, so we don't really need to go over.
My number one is Sword of Feast and Famine.
Oh, Helm of the Host
But
is
how about-
almost
I'm
in
gonna
20,000 decks for a
That's pretty
set
good.
that's what, 2 years old? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to switch up my number one and go with Sword of Ice and Fire. That card is
Sure.
amazing.
Sure. You want me to give you drum rolls too?
No, I don't need drum rolls.
Hang on, I gotta give you the drum rolls.
It's colorless removal. Fair enough. It's colorless removal, so it's nice. It gets rid of like the fog bank that's in your wave. It can get rid of creatures with protection. With it's in Oketra. No, stop. In Oketra, it's mono white. You get some draw. You put it on Oketra, and you can draw twice. And deal 4 damage. It's a really good. Okay, fine. We can move on. It's a great card.
I like all the swords. The swords are really good, but I just don't use.
I disagree. The green-blue one's not good.
Well, they all do their thing.
Oh, that actually could go in your mill deck. Is that in your mill deck?
I haven't made it yet. Just give me a sec.
It mills 10 if it deals damage, and then you get a token. 2/2 wolf.
Ooh, that's probably going to go in there.
Yeah, it mills 10 or 20.
I got an interesting. There's a couple of the pirate cards that do some milling stuff that are just blue. Well, it's the Gyarados. What is his name? Wait, if he deals
the pirates.
Sorry, I meant zombies.
Zombies?
Did I say pirates?
Yeah, okay,
I meant
zombies.
zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
like pirates? Yeah, whoops. I don't know. One's a pirate, though. There's a pirate zombie. The chick that everybody... It's only a commander card. And everybody mills. And then for each... Or somebody mills and then... Fuck, I don't remember. For each land, you get a 2/2 zombie.
Yeah, no, this sounds totally good.
Oh, fuck you. I got the card right over here. Give me a second. Pulling it up right now. Oh, yeah. Oh, she's a human wizard, but it's Stitcher Geralf.
Yeah.
Each player puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Exile up to 2 creature cards, put in the graveyard this way. Put an XX blue zombie creature token, where X is the total power of that card. And then the other one was Undead Alchemist, and that's a zombie. There it is. Yep. That'll be in my Spotlight deck, but not my Spotlight deck we're talking about yours.
A Spotlight deck.
I'm impressed that you had the sound already.
Yeah, I was moving over to it.
That's my second callback from last week.
I'm trying to stay on top of it. I'm like, okay, what buttons am I trying to go to next while Lowery's talking? Just keep talking, Lowery. Okay, so we are talking about who are we talking about, Lowery?
All right. Gadrak, the Crown Scourge, 2 colorless and a red for a 5/4 dragon. It has flying and
can't attack.
Videos over the top of it. And it can't attack unless you control 4 or more artifacts. And then at the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn.
Okay. So I got to know how you're building this, because so for me, like, I probably would be doing a lot of sacrificing my own creatures and taking advantage of getting treasure tokens and maybe having a win con with the 20 or more tokens or something like that. And then also board wiping. I'd try to board wipe as much as possible, because it's at the beginning of your end step, create a token for each non-token creature died. So you're including other people's and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't necessarily the route you went. You kind of went a little bit different with this. From my perspective, you're more using Gadrak as your killer, right? Kind of. Am I right on that a little bit?
I don't know what I'm using as a...
Well, I mean, because you have 23 artifacts in this deck, and which is...
Yeah.
You have 23 artifacts, 19 creatures, 7 sorceries, 6 enchantments, 3 instants, and 3 planeswalkers. Which, by the way, one of those planeswalkers, I'm very interested. So, what route did you go with this?
So, when I was playing around with it, the problem that I was running into is like I do want Gadrak to be aggressive. Oftentimes, if I'm casting it on turn 3, it can't attack. Even if I have like haste or greaves or whatever that would, there's not enough time there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't have the high amount of artifacts in there, it just wasn't being aggressive enough. Like, if you're not attacking the next turn, you're not doing much, right? Yeah. He's just kind of sitting there as a 5/4 flying blocker. And so, yeah, I do want to be hitting in for 5 with my commander on turn 3 or 4.
So are you trying to kill somebody with commander damage with him?
Not necessarily, because I don't have a lot of Voltron stuff going on. I just want to be able to get that early damage in, and it's big, right? And so people are going to be able to eventually deal with it, but also just in my mind, I do have... The question is do I have enough removal, like the mass removal? And I don't know that question yet. I might have to add in... I cut Magma Quake, and I'll probably got to add it back in.
Because you have Earthquake in here, which deals mass damage.
But the important part there too is it's to non-flyers.
Right. So your Gadrak does not get hit.
Yep.
If I had to pick a card over the last year and change that I see a lot in your decks, it's Chandra's Ignition. You play that card because Feather was perfect in that deck. I feel like you have it in another deck, or maybe it's just I keep seeing it in Feather.
I know I probably have it in 3 or 4 decks. You're not wrong.
I think Calamax has this one too, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this one, and it's a good card. Like, I didn't realize it was a good card until you're using it to my face. But that's another mass board wipe in a way. Do you have the one that dealing 13 damage to everybody? It doesn't look like... I don't think I saw that one.
And so the reason why is if you do that, you'd have to recast Gadrak to realize the treasure tokens, right? Because it's an end step thing going on. And so I'm trying to use the mass removal that's going to keep Gadrak around.
Totally makes sense, yep. You have Fault Line, which is an interesting one. I like that as an instant speed.
So it's an instant speed...
deals
Earthquake.
X damage. Yep, exactly. To each creature. Yep. And then I do like Spitflame is pretty sweet, being able to recast that.
Yeah, so Spitflame's an instant that deals 4 damage, and whenever you cast a dragon, you can pay a red and it comes back to your hand. And like I was saying, like this morning I had probably 2 or 3 more dragons in here.
Oh, yeah, and then
and so I don't know how consistent
well that's
going to go at this point. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting and kind of cool. But the weird thing is like you want to save it until Gadrak's out so you can get the treasure token, but you also want to use it for removal so that you can pay a red to bring it back to your hand. But then you got to wait on casting Gadrak. So it's kind of like a weird spot. I think it's good, though. I think it is. Because I want to say I have like 4 or 5 dragons in here.
Balefire Dragon, which is perfect because when it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. So there's more treasure tokens right there.
Yep.
Let's see. Do we have another dragon in here? You got a lot of goblins. You have Hellkite Tyrant, so there's a win con in there.
Yep. There's the win con.
Whenever it deals damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. That's a pretty sweet win con there.
Ryusi, the Falling Star.
And that one, whenever it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. So again, not hitting Gadrak.
And then Steel Hellkite, so I got 5 total. Might not be enough. We'll see. But Steel Hellkite is put into any deck that's monocolored for me that has like blind spots. And Red just doesn't have any way other than Chaos Warp to deal with enchantments.
Which you have in here.
Yeah, I do. Well, yeah, Chaos Warp should be in every red deck, even if it's multicolored. But Steel Hellkite, when it deals damage, you can pay X and remove permanents of X of that player, and so that you start aiming at either their mana rocks, or you're going after their enchantments because you can't deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's kind of cool is you can pay 0 and destroy all their tokens, so that's a thing too.
Yeah. I had a question with one. You have by force in here, which is destroy target X artifacts, but you're the one that has a lot of the artifacts. So you're not trying to target your own, right? Or are you? Well, there's some artifacts you do have in here that you do want to die.
So this is, I don't know if you're going to, because you didn't get a whole ton of time to see this, the deck list. Were you planning on talking about, what the fuck is it? Mycosynth Lattice?
No, I wasn't going to bring that up as much, but
most important card in the deck.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so Mycosynth Lattice is 6 mana for an artifact. All permanents are artifacts in addition to their other type, and then you can spend mana of whatever color. Everybody can kind of do that. So the big thing is turning all artifacts all permanents into artifacts, right? And so that allows, by force is a solid card on its own, because you can kind of just like divide upon mana rocks. But with Lattice in play, you can destroy anything you want. So, and that's where, go ahead.
The reason why Lattice I never brought up, or in my mind, it did the other one where you see these in combos sometimes, is the making all your artifacts indestructible. I went that route. When I saw that card, I didn't even think it was Lattice that made everything artifacts. I was thinking it was the other.
Oh, the Darksteel Forge.
Yeah, so that's why I never even wrote it down. I wrote down 3 other cards of my Tickle My Taint cards, is what I want to call them.
I'll go more into depth with Lattice if you don't get to them.
No, go ahead.
No. You do your deal.
By force, so I like that idea then, because then you're going through and everybody else's is artifacts and you're just wiping their board. Because you're hitting lands too, isn't Lattice hit lands? It's every permanent.
You can. It's everything. So if you so chose and had enough mana, you can hit their lands, and there are ways in here to also just kind of end the game that way.
So then, one of my Tickle My Taint cards was what is it? Giraffer Aether Grid.
Oh, I gotta read it.
So that one is the tap two
Gerper.
Gerper
Aether Grid.
Gerber.
Yeah.
Tap 2 untap artifacts you control. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So I was thinking that I didn't even know that card really existed, but I thought that was pretty a unique way to. I was thinking you were more using that with the treasure tokens, but also with Mycosynth Lattice being there, now I'm seeing that a little bit better, because it's like, oh, now all your everything you have is artifacts, including lands. Tap them, wipe their board with either their board or kill a player.
Yeah, and that ends up being amazing when you have this, or I gotta find the other one. It is Inspiring Statuary, 3 colorless artifact. Non-artifact spells you control or you cast have improvise. And so what those 2 things are tapping your artifacts, right? With Lattice, permanents that you have are artifacts, not cards in your hand unless they're actually artifacts. So something like by force you can tap everything in play with Lattice because it's an artifact to make X huge, right? And so that works with earthquake effects. Like any X spell gets really, really big with Inspiring Statuary, or all of your permanents become removal with Aether Grid, because just being able to tap them to deal 1 damage to any target. And all of this and then Aether Grid gets really good with Unwinding Clock, because then you get to do that every turn.
So, question for you: if Mycosynth Lattice is one of your most important cards in this, do you have a way to tutor it up? Even though we don't do tutors very often, but if this is your main key piece to this deck, it seems like something you need to kind of try to find. So, do you have?
I agree.
Certain ways to bring this guy out?
I definitely cut just everything that was going to go fight it.
Oh, did you? I mean, that's kind of what we do, that we make it so it's more random. So that's good. But I wasn't sure if I think there's enough other pieces here because you do have a lot of draw stuff too.
That's what I'm hoping. Like I cut the tutors for more draw, and I'm just hoping that I'm able to get there. Like lattice isn't necessity; it just makes things so much better. Right?
And then it's just a one shot kind of going at one person or everybody, but you have the spells that can just wipe the board.
Well, because even with so again, Mycosynth Lattice with Vandal Blast wins you the game because it destroys all of their artifacts, which everything's an artifact. They have nothing. Yeah, you win the game after that. But one of the cards that I didn't put in here that is an auto lock with Lattice is there's Karn, the Great Creator from War of the Spark. And that means all artifact abilities of your opponents can't be activated. So people's lands couldn't be tapped.
It'd be such a dick.
But the problem there is Karn is only good with Lattice. Yeah. Right? These other cards that I'm mentioning just become way better with Lattice. And that's where I'm going for like consistency rather than just straight up lockout.
Yeah, because that would be straight up lockout. Like there would be nothing anybody could do.
Yeah, because unless there's enough board presence, and then they're able to kill Karn with like creatures that I can't block. I mean, but again, having a dead card in hand, I've never enjoyed it. Along with being like just a really dickhead card.
Yeah, that was more. I was like, ugh. But you like to be a dick.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of dickhead cards in here. You already mentioned the Hellkite Tyrant, right? If I am able to attack somebody and deal them damage while Lattice is on the battlefield, I get to steal all of their permanents.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And probably win the game during my next upkeep.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't have Lattice, Hellkite is a pretty good card. Like just taking everybody's mono, that person's mono rocks or whatever. It's a pretty.
And again, and another card that's going to interact really well with Lattice here. And I don't know if you caught this card in here. Treasure Nabber.
Oh, because then everything is,
artifacts, and I get to take all the land that is tapped.
Yeah, whenever an opponent taps in an artifact. Oh, yeah, that's pretty funny.
So that super ramps me. Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about Treasure Nabber in that regard.
No, I had another goblin that I haven't seen used a lot was the Slow Bad Goblin Tinkerer. That one I thought was pretty interesting. The sacrifice an artifact I thought it was interesting because you were being able to sacrifice a treasure token to protect your other stuff. Not even thinking about Mycosynth Lattice with that, but that ability is it's like almost like protection in a way. You have an extra protection thing.
Yeah. And then sacrificing the artifacts again. If you're taking artifacts from Treasure Nabber or the Hellkite Tyrant, that just gives you fodder to be able to sacrifice artifacts and protect your stuff. But also, like you're saying, I'm using those treasure tokens not necessarily for mana, right? It's their sacrifice fodder as well. And so
of course you
easily
have treasure map in here, which you need to have. Then you can use those treasure tokens as draw. Like that has to be in this deck.
Yeah.
One I thought was interesting was Koth of the Hammer. So where does this guy fit in?
He's mono red. this is admittingly the one card. There are multiple cards in mono red where I'm like, I want it in here, I want it in here, I want it in here, and slowly cut. But so the reason why I kind of kept it in here was it is some big time ramp because you can -2 it and add red for each mountain that you control.
For sure.
So that can be some big stuff. But also the -5, you're allowed to tap mana or a mountain, and then it can deal 1 damage to creature or player.
So late game is pretty nice.
Yeah, I feel like it's very similar to the Aether Grid we were talking about. And also, again, if they're artifacts and if you have Unwinding Clock, you're able to do that every turn.
Yeah. Would you use the first one? So that's where that's why I had this one written, because I was like, is he doing the +1 to make his mountain a 4/4 and then killing it to get the treasure token. I was like, that's a lot to kill your mountain.
Yeah, no. It's more like just if I get to ramp and untap it, or just adding the loyalty counter. Hopefully there aren't a lot of like creatures that my opponents have, and so maybe I can bash in for the 4/4. That admittingly, like this one is, I think it's going to be good, but it's questionable.
So the Day of Dragons, I think we've kind of already gone over for the most part, because that is your Mycosynth Lattice, and you also have your Hellkite Tyrant. Is there any other angles that this deck has for winning the game?
I really like value engines, and so just like cards like Pia's Revolution or Scrap Trawler. Is that the right one? Scrap.
It's the one where you're bringing back stuff when something smaller.
Yeah.
Whenever it or another artifact you control is put in the graveyard, return to your hand target artifact card from your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost.
No, I think that's about it for game enders.
Pia's Revelations or your Revolution is pretty interesting though. That is a cool card. The only problem I was seeing was it said whenever a non-token artifact. So I was like, oh, that doesn't work for your treasure tokens. But yeah. You're more talking about your other artifact. You do have a few artifacts in here that you kind of want to sacrifice them. So I kind of like that aspect because you have and you're the only one I ever see. I've never used the card, but you've used this in multiple times. You used Ichor Wellspring.
Oh, Ichor Wellspring.
Ichor, and then what's the other one?
Mycosynth Wellspring.
Yeah.
So those are definitely just value-based artifacts. When Mycosynth Wellspring comes into play, you get to go and search for a basic land, put it in your hand, and if it dies, you get to do the same thing. And then Ichor Wellspring is you draw a card, and when it dies, you draw a card. And you have Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer, Trash for Treasure, Duretti in here. And so these things easily get sacrificed. And again, they kind of work well with the Inspiring Statuary because you can tap them for mana. And then they're easy to, you want more artifacts in play for Aether Grid and some of these things, and just having artifacts in play help with Gadrak being able to attack, right? And so one thing on the Discord, Hemi and Ted were kind of talking about stuff, and there was a couple of times where they suggested cards that I can sacrifice to draw a card. I was like, and I started finding cards that allowed me, when they came into play and stayed, I draw a card, and that ends up, I think, working better for the deck. Because like Arkham's Astrolab comes into play, draw a card. That's all it's there for, is just to draw me a card for super cheap, and it allows me to sacrifice it or tap it or just be that extra artifact for Gadrak to get out early and attack. And so that's something that I think ended up being really important, just being super cheap draw. And mono red, this deck tends to just have cards in hand,
which is surprising for a red deck and for how low your CMC is.
Yeah, it says that on Tapped Out, it says that it's 2.0.
I think I think there's a glitch, because I think you saw it earlier and it was 2.92, and then I was like, it says 2.0. Yeah, because I'm looking at the CMC of stuff, and there is a lot of 1, 2, but there's a handful, quite a few that are over that, quite a bit higher. One of your favorites that you do use is the archive. What is it? Alzheimer's Archive? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Al Hamarat's Archive. So again, this card is. We were talking about Teferi's Ageless Insight last week about like drawing any card beyond the first, you get to draw 2, and how good that was.
Which,
and then I started
by the way, I picked up a bunch of those.
Nice. That was smart.
We should have picked up freaking Teferi like we had said we were going to do, because that card jumped up like $20-$30. Anyways, go ahead.
And we didn't. Yeah. Anyway. But I was like, the archive is the same thing. Whenever you draw that extra card beyond the first, you get to draw more cards. And I was like, man, this is, it kind of started out, and I had a lot more of the like draw cards, discard, or discard cards and draw cards. and then those tend to just like stay even or have you actually lose cards. They're just better selection. But with the archive here, it just like Faithless Looting turns into draw 4 cards, discard 2, right? Having
It's
the
much better, yeah.
Having Ichor Wellspring come into play is pay 2 for an artifact coming into play, draw 2 cards, sacrificing a treasure to that land that flips, or treasure map draws you 2 cards. Like, it just makes things really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have Shadow Spear in here, which gains me life. Yeah, it gains me life, and the archive doubles that life, right? And so it just kind of works there. There's another card in here that gains me life too. Sword of Shadow.
Light and Shadow.
Light and Shadow, yeah. So that also gained, instead of 3 life, I gained 6 life.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fit. It just worked really well. And it's almost the card that I go before Mycosynth Lattice.
So when Mycosynth Lattice is out, we just know we have to kill you, because otherwise it's going to be game over.
You got to start working towards it. Yes. Yes. Skull Clamp is really, really good in here because I am sacrificing and having ground creatures die pretty easy. So just drawing those 2 cards is really, really nice. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the snow mountains.
Well, I thought it was funny when you text me. You're like, "Do you have any spare snow-covered mountains?" It's like, oh, who needs those snow mountains? But I see you're using that for the one card, basically. The Astrolab, isn't it? Isn't that the only?
There's 2 others. So there's Arkham's Astrolab, sure. So there's Scrying Sheets, which is a land.
Oh yeah, the land. I kind of skipped your lands. When I was going through the deck, I just looked at everything else.
So you can pay a snow and a colorless, tap it, look at the top card of your library. If it's a snow, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. So
you're looking for lands.
Yeah, you're able to dig for lands. That's just like a extra draw away. But the other one that isn't as obvious.
Is that the enchantment?
Mm-mm.
No, never mind. I'm not seeing it. Going through really quick.
I'll let you do your deal. There were 2 cards that I cut. There's a dragon from Cold Snap that you can pay snow, 2 colorless, tap a creature, and it stays tapped. And I was like, well, I'm going for killing creatures, so this is not good. And then there's also like something from Ice Age, something Crevices, where you can sacrifice a snow-covered mountain and it stops all combat damage from creatures that turn. And again,
I don't see what the other one is. What's the other one?
All right. Extra Planar Lens.
Oh, it's back there.
Yeah. So that's an artifact, 3 colorless. It has imprint. So when it comes into play, you remove target land you control from the game. And then whenever a land with the same name as the imprinted card is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 mana of his or her to mana pool that type that land produced.
So you're making it so that other people can't take advantage of mountains being tapped because it's snow-covered.
I got this idea from over on the CMD Tower Discord because they were talking about islands, and I was like, no, that's amazing in this deck too. And so monocolored, if you don't have a lot of snow-covered lands in your meta, this is a great way to get that boost because it's only 3 mana to double your mountains.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And so when this card comes down, things speed up a lot.
Huh. I don't have any snow covered. Sorry, Lowery.
That's all right.
Whoops.
All right. I'll use my Ice Age version and my Cold Snap version.
Oh,
and it'll be ugly.
Gross.
You'll regret it.
You will suffer.
So like that one is a really, really cool because like I had what's the one that it's 6 mana, it comes into play, choose a color, doubles your mana from that, and then +1/+1 to those creatures. Oh,
you're talking about Miri's whatchamacallit?
No.
Miri's Wake?
No, not Miri's Wake. It's just colorless artifacts for 6 mana. It's pretty common, but I just I was like looking at it, I'm like, I got dragons. I don't need and a bunch of artifact creatures that wouldn't get pumped anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dragons don't need to
Oh,
get
it's the sun cage. No, there's that.
Yeah,
it's the
Cage Sun.
Yeah,
Cage
Cage Sun. It's the one with the dragon like in a little ball, like a gold ball or something like that.
I don't think I've ever noticed it was a dragon.
I think it is.
I'll have to check that out.
What is it called again? It's Sun Cage what?
Caged Sun.
Cage Sun.
I just figured it was a sun in a cage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a... Oh, maybe I just assumed
Very
it was a
little.
dragon. It might not be a dragon. It just is a ball of... Yeah.
Ball.
Okay. In my mind, every time I saw that card, it was the dragon that was being encaged in this little sun thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool story, Hansel. So is there anything else that pops out to you with this then? Anything else that we should know?
It's still... Oh, okay. So you do draw a bunch of cards in here. And again, I'll talk about Tectonic Reformation. And that gives all your lands cycling for red.
Yeah.
This card is just... I'm really high on this card.
That's the one I
think
was
it's
thinking you were
fantastic.
talking about before. Yeah. No, I like that card a lot.
I think it is fantastic. If you're drawing a lot of cards and you keep filling up your hand, you can't play your lands enough. I even like, and again,
Or you get
I
it
think
early game and you don't want to, you need to draw, cycle it out of there. Don't even play it.
Yep. Yeah. And again, like if you have the archive in play, it's red, discard a land, draw 2 cards. Like it gets bonkers. But even like I have Crucible of Worlds in here to be able to discard, draw a card, and play that land back into play anyway.
Mhm.
If you get that, and if not, generally in this deck you have enough lands anyway.
Yeah, I did that card a lot.
Oh, cool little thing. Karn, Scion of Urza. Do you know how badass that is with Mycosynth Lattice?
Why is that?
Because you get the -2 it, create the 0/0 that has +1/+1 for each artifact
So
you control.
everything's huge. Or that thing's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
It's so big.
But even still, like its other abilities are pretty good with this as well.
Yeah. And you still, like, even if you do it and you create like a 6/6/7/7, but if you have Lattice in play, it becomes like a 15,
Yeah.
right? So they can be beaters either way. And then it's just card draw or card advantage for the plus and minus.
Yeah.
So I don't dislike that. One little thing I wish I kind of dug a little bit deeper on is the Evoke. So I have Spite Bellows.
Yep.
And
saw
I
him in
have.
there, yep.
Did you see those?
Oh, I saw Spite Bellows. So you're using that. That's a good idea
And-
because it comes in and then you're sacrificing it.
Yeah. And so Spite Bellows is evoke it, it leaves play, deals 6 damage to a creature. If you have Gadrak in play, you're getting 2 treasure tokens off that either way. Ingot Chewer is 1 red to destroy an artifact. You'll get, that it's an easy trigger off of that. Those are 2 that I use and like. I wish I would have maybe dug a little bit deeper on Evoke to see what I could do with it.
It's not too late, Lowery. Not too late.
Yeah. And so, Goblin Welder is an all-star in any deck that it wants to be in. Feldon on the 3rd Bath is ridiculous.
Oh, I know one card I wanted you to talk about. Soul Ring. No, I'm just kidding.
Shut your mouth.
Why do you have that in there? Please. How does that? Why does it fit in here? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just silly. It doesn't fit in the theme.
Well,
it's an artifact. Gives you mana. What?
It doesn't work at all.
No.
Burnished Heart is a solid card in like non-green decks, right? And that's 3 colorless, 2/2, pay 3, sacrifice Burnished Heart.
Oh, it works perfect
for
in
2
here
basic
because
lands.
you just do it on your turn and get your 2 land and then also get a treasure token with it.
Get a treasure token, but also the reanimation part is bringing it back. So just like Feldon on the 3rd Path or Goblin Welder or Engineer, bring them back and easily just go back and forth. And you can just ramp like crazy with this thing. And again, you're getting the treasure token off of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's especially good in this deck. It's a pretty good card in general.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
I did find a tutor. Inventor's Fair
Yeah.
is a land.
But that's on a land. I like Inventor's Fair a lot, especially when you're playing a heavy artifact deck.
Yeah. The best part is just gaining 1 life each upkeep. Right? That's so good.
Gives you land, gives you life, and then potentially tutors for stuff. You got to get rid of it, but that's why I'm like, Inventor's Fair is a good card. I picked up foils of those guys.
And so I actually don't have a lot of fetches in here.
What?
Yeah, but again, I have
You really
lands
don't.
that kind of
You got
sacrifice
Fabled
themselves.
Passage in here, though. That's good.
Yeah, I do. I have Vista in here, and then I have like Terramorphic and the other one, the really cheap one. But having the cycling ability on it, there's a couple of them that sacrifice themselves, like Buried Ruin and Inventor's Fair. Like it makes Crucible World just kind of work in here, along with cards that have you draw cards and discard cards and stuff like that. So I think Crucible is a pretty solid bet in here as well.
Sweet.
So I'm excited for the deck. It feels like it ramps and draws like crazy. I just don't know if I do enough of a threat thing.
You're always a threat,
it'll be interesting to see.
Did you throw it on the cock yet?
No, I got the list up like 2 hours
right when you
ago.
text me and it said, "Hey,
Yeah.
it's up," and I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, I gotta look at this."
I
before
just
can."
finished putting it. Yeah, yep.
All right,
So
you gotta put this on there.
We'll see if I get to this.
Sweet.
I think it's going to be cool. I do like artifact reanimation style decks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my Braille was. That's what my Sahili.
It's interesting because
Gifted
you're doing mono red with that. You know, normally it's like a mix with blue and red, and
Yeah,
but just
it was
mono
for sure
red.
a lot tougher.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some tough nuts to deal with right there.
Because the blue added always gives you like really good draw, and so this mono red where you're just like, ugh, I don't really like Mind's Eye, but it probably fits in here, and it's in here. But like that's something that I might cut because I think I added it in, and I had Hoarding Dragon in there beforehand, which is when it comes into play, go search for an artifact and exile it. And when Dragon leaves, you get to put that in your
card.
hand, that artifact. So I really like that card, and it probably fits in here, but as that tutor thing, I'm just like, I don't want that. But in the end, it took out another threat. But
and
felt
it's another
because,
dragon that kind of works with stuff. That might be something to think about.
Putting it back in.
See, but I don't mind those. I played with that one in the Perforos one. Where it has another step to get your tutor. It's not just like demonic tutor. All right, I'm searching for whatever. I'm searching for that combo piece. It's like, all right, I have to kill this, which I also benefits me because Gadrak gets that, and I'm actually getting this other piece, Mycosynth Lattice, which will come out and play.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of ways to get rid of my flyers, and so it's just like Goblin Bombardment and High Market. I think those are the only 2 ways to sacrifice creatures.
Yeah, so
in here, there's a lot more ways to sacrifice artifacts.
Yeah,
and so
I saw that.
It felt like I was going and searching for something really good, going, I'm going to get this, and then never getting it.
Asking everybody else, can you just kill my...
Can you kill my 4/4 dragon, please? Just attack.
Why is he telling me to kill something that's that big? He wants to do something bad.
And so maybe the idea that I should almost do with it is, if I have a sack outlet, then do it, and if not, then go find like a utility piece. So
I dig it. Sweet, dude. Well, we are at an hour and 20 minutes almost.
Shit. See, that's what happens when we add a second segment.
Well, I didn't want to tell you before we started the Spotlight deck that we were at 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
We even stole each other's like 3 times on the top 5.
And another thing about this cast, and this is so cliche of everybody doing the Zoom thing and COVID and all that stuff, but you can see me in video. I did this in my boxers.
I just flipped over to video and
saw my
just
wang.
your boxers. That's great. That's great.
It's like, I'm gonna do this. I was gonna get pants, and I was like, why?
Why?
It's 11. Well, now it's midnight. And I was like,
it's midnight now.
Yeah, my neighbors aren't even home across the street, so whatever. Cindy's the only one, and she's on the couch that can see me in my boxers. So
Oh,
We're all
that's
good.
not a problem. That's not a problem.
All right. Well, we should probably wrap this up. What do we got next week? Well, let's not say that yet because I don't know if I'm going to get it done. I should be able to get mine done.
Well, I think next week we're going to talk about Jumpstart.
Oh, yes.
I think we're just going to go over the cards, probably the new ones, maybe quick over the reprints, like officially.
Even though it's been out, we're just going to kind of maybe break it down of the good ones.
I think there's some cool cards.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Could probably maybe we do a top 10 reprints and top 10, which is going to be like all the mythics and rares. It's going to be a really easy list there. And then top 10 cards or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to figure that out.
We'll talk in text more than people know.
I mean, they probably know we text and talk a lot.
Not talk
It's
very
probably
much.
a good
It's more
guess.
texting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that should do it for this week. We will catch you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.
Sega. I almost do the Sega thing in the Sia part, so that's why the Sega comes
Yeah,
in.
no, I understand. I hear it.
Sega. It's like
Sega. No, I'm not. I'm
like-
not going like
I
that's
like when
fucking
you do-
Adam trying to get the last word in.